I remember my mom always saying when I was growing up, and I thought this was like a well-known thing, like the tortured artist. She'd always be like, you're such a tortured artist, you don't like anything you do. Yeah. And I think it's just built into people who are creative that we sometimes don't meet this, again, this like achievement we think we have to meet with even just the stuff we're making for ourselves. It's a really hard thing to be able to do. I think it's a skill that I've had to work on. How can I feel like what I made is done and I can step away and be like, I'm proud of that as it is. I think the goal is to be like, this is for me and I'm just gonna put it out there and I don't give a darn what anybody else thinks. Yeah. But I think we're human. We're always gonna be like a little curious at least. There's some times where I've been fine with it. What I was creating was so aligned with something that I needed for myself. And I knew what that was, and I was very clear on what that was. So with those kinds of things, I am less worried about what someone else thinks, because I am just doing it for me.
Yeah. And I think, like you were saying, also like a lot we all teach, you know. And sometimes when we're choreographing or creating something, like you said, it's like a purpose. You know what I mean? Like it's making sure that the kids' strengths are shown and their weaknesses are not shown, and making sure everyone shines and gets their time on stage and so on. So there's a certain purpose behind it, but I think also with like the projects that I do, whether it's like a performance or a video or whatever the project is, like I want to express myself and show, you know, share what I'm thinking and try and get this idea out there. And you're never sure what other people are going to think about it. But I do also hope that by putting that stuff out, it inspires other people as well. So I think even though, for lack of a better word, it's selfish in some ways that I want to share, you know, like my thing, I also am hoping that it positively impacts other people, but also at the same time don't care if it, you know, I don't care if other people don't like it. You know, it's kind of like, it's a weird balance. It's like, I don't care if other people don't like it, but I do at the same time hope that it inspires people. Is that weird? I don't even know.
I feel like it's this, to be honest, I feel like it's a really unreasonable, like, standard that we put on each other to be like, I don't care what anyone else thinks.
Yeah.
Like, right, you're gonna care.
Yeah.
It's gonna hurt, but the difference is, do you let it stop you?
Right. Yes.
Do you let your actions change because of how other people perceive you?
Yeah.
When I think of the few times that I've worked on like passion projects for myself, it's very hard for me to get to the point of feeling brave enough to create something. So when I do, it's usually because I need to get something out, and its main purpose is just for me to get something out. And then I think before the whole I wonder what people are going to think about it hits, there's an element of, if somebody does look at this, I want to make sure they can understand what I'm trying to say. And I think that's where the flip side of it comes for me, like the audience, what they view. And then it's like, oh crap, I wonder what people think. That happens there. But it's more so, I have all these things I want to say, doesn't make sense if someone was to pass by it accidentally. And that's, I think, what I try to work into, or I think that's what influences what I'm creating a little bit before, is it cool enough?
I feel like also only you can know, like, if you really said what you wanted to say, right? Because other people are going to look at that through their own lenses. Yeah.
I just want to make sure it's not just a blob of stuff. Making something that's wholesome, I guess, and that even though people will view it differently, that they're getting some kind of message from it, instead of just like, this is people moving.
The ultimate goal is when you sit down and you look at the final product, that it makes sense to you. Because we know what we envision in our third eye. Like, we see it in our mind's eye. That's what I was trying to say. We've all created stuff and sat down and watched it and been like, this wasn't how I wanted to say this, or to me this isn't clear. And that's when I think it's like, I'm not too pleased about this. Maybe that's when I'm a little more insecure about what other people think, because it's really just a mirror of my own insecurity. So when I sit down and I look at something, I'm like, yes, that is exactly what I wanted to say. It's clear to me. Sorry, song lyrics just popped into my head.
What were the lyrics?
Since you're so fine, it is up to me, your face so change. What song is that?
Justin.
Is that Justin?
Yes, Justin. I was like, why did I just sing a song in my head? Wow. Well, I don't even know where I was going anymore. That's it.
What I've noticed with myself anyways, and I'm not sure if anyone else has had a similar experience, but I was hesitant at first to put out my stuff because I was, again, like, you're worried, is this going to hold up? And, you know, is it Are people gonna be like, I don't know. And like then once I started putting my own stuff out there, I started to feel more comfortable putting my own stuff out there. You know what I mean? Like for me, like at first it was scary, and it's gotten like, I don't want to say easier, but I felt more confident. And even with that, like there are times though that like certain videos, like I'll get them and I'm like, at first I'm like,
Wasn't what I
wanted. But then over time I end up appreciating it and loving it. I can remember like looking back and I'm like, at first I'm like, you know what, I don't know. And does this hold up to the last thing I let out? You know what I mean? Because you always want to try and, I don't want to say top yourself, but you know what I mean? Not be the same all the time.
Yes.
You know? But then over time I end up loving them and noticing them
Differently.
looking at them differently.
Yeah. So weird.
And it just takes a little time.
You're removed from it.
Yeah.
You get a break like emotionally, and you come back and you're like, actually, this is pretty good. Why was I being so crazy about it?
Why was I being nuts? You know, like there was the one we did with the chairs. Why am I forgetting the name of the song?
Michelle.
Stay.
Stay.
Yeah.
What the heck? Why can't I remember? So, and like at first, like there were moments that I looked at myself and like, I don't know. You know, like, and I was like, I don't know. And I hesitated a couple days for releasing it because I was like, I don't know. But now I love it. You know what I mean? But at the time, I was like second guessing myself and just being stupid. You know? But
yes. There's a book called Show Your Work that a lot of people have recommended to me because of this exact issue where I think when we create stuff, we either don't finish creating it because of this whole like fear, or we create it and then we never actually put it out there because of, again, the same thing, this fear. And it's not really our responsibility to hold back, and it's not, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not our business what anyone else thinks about this. What we really have to get good at is getting to the last step, which is the hardest one, which is letting it out and just being like, I released this and now it's out, and whatever it is, but you've accomplished something, which is just simply getting to that point and putting it out, which is probably a big part of why we are still able to feel that like pride for something that maybe originally we didn't love, or it didn't go exactly as we planned. We can still look back and be like, but that's a memory.
Right.
I got it to that point, and that's a huge accomplishment because that's not something that's easy to do. Just getting through step 1, step 2, step 3 and having a finished product, that is a huge accomplishment. So regardless of how it's perceived, even to ourselves sometimes, it's something we should be proud of.
Yeah.
So we just have to get out of our own way.
And I think about painting too, because with painting, like, or drawing too, like if you're so close to the paper, you get a very different image from when like you step away and like you do something else for a little while, and then you come back and you're like, oh, like this looks way different than it was when I was like so focused on every single little detail.
Yes.
So I feel like a big part of that is just like zooming out and getting the bigger lens instead of like focusing on, for choreography, like this hand wasn't like exactly like where it was supposed to be, or like this transition wasn't what I wanted, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Because someone, like we were saying, people perceive everything differently. So most of the time, in our, maybe even just our subconscious mind, if all we can think about is the negative, they're not gonna like it, it's not gonna be good enough, whatever. We're totally silencing the other, probably bigger crowd of people who will probably get something out of it, or appreciate it, or be entertained by it.
Yeah. Or even be inspired to put their own work out there.
Inspired, which is the ultimate
Inspired to do their
goal.
own thing. Like, hey,
Yes.
so-and-so's doing this, like, I can do this. It's funny, I was gonna say, like, you know, art is kind of like a cup of tea. Like, we all take our tea a little bit differently. Just because it doesn't maybe necessarily speak to me, or I don't like it, doesn't mean someone else won't.
Right.
You know, and I think we have to keep that in mind. Like, someone might not like the video I put out, but it's not their flavor. That's hard. We've all been in that place where we're afraid of, like, you know, what are people gonna think? But not everyone likes the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. And I think with time and repetitiveness, you stop caring so much.
Yes.
Because you get into that flow of like action
Yeah.
instead of inaction, which is a really sticky place to be stuck. Inaction. And that's where the analytical part of our brain takes over, and it's constantly like, I'm going to think about this instead of doing it. And then you end up thinking yourself into a hole. Versus, I'm not going to think so hard, I'm just going to do, and whatever happens, happens, and I'll let myself think about it once it's done.
I also think that when you start it, like if there are little steps that you can take for whatever project it is, there's like a momentum that builds with it. Like once you do that first step, you kind of feel like, oh, I accomplished something, like I did something, and then it makes you want to do another step and then another one. I feel like that's like just like a vortex that kind of just gets bigger and bigger
Yes.
until you get into this like habit of just doing
Right.
all the time.
Right.
I feel like we can get used to not acting as well as
Hell
like
yeah.
once you like start doing it, you're like, oh, okay, like this is normal for me now. I'm just gonna keep doing it. You know?
And then you're teaching yourself to feel bad. And then all you understand, it's a psychology thing, right? It's a slippery slope where you get stuck in the habit of conditioning yourself to think that creating equals discomfort or creating equals negative self-talk. Because we put that wall in front of us and we don't allow ourselves to just move past it. So when you get in the habit of just acting and creating, even if it's little things, once a day, create something small. Like Maria, I know you love doing your calligraphy. Like I feel like you're always doing something creative, and I love seeing that stuff. And when you share it, it makes me be like, wow, I want to do something now. Like when we put it out there for the world, it does have a positive impact, and that energy will end up coming back to you. So you just have to act.
Yeah.
That is part of feeling successful for
Yeah.
me, for sure, is just completing it and
Yeah.
feeling like I did it.
Keep moving forward.
That's it.
My friend Aurelia used to say all the time, I've told you this, like there's that saying, like I guess grasshoppers can't jump anywhere except for forward. Like they can't go sideways, they can't go backward. So if they need to like turn, like if they want to go this way, they still have to go forward, you know? So she used to say like fail forward like the grasshopper, because all you can do is go forward. So you just have to keep moving
That
forward.
is some wise ass shit.
Yes, Aurelia.
I like that a lot,
She's
yeah.
great, Aurelia Michaels. Yeah, she like, I was like, yeah, I didn't know that. But if you think about it, you never see a grasshopper going backward.
Yeah.
Like if they turn around and go the other way, but now it's a new forward. It's never like
It's
really
a new
backward, you know?
forward. I like that.
So just keep moving forward, one little hop at a time.
Grasshopper tattoo.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Right.